It is almost unbelievable to me that we have this massive amount of money being moved around with no one, except for the $700 billion, no one in an elective position responsive to the American people, which is, after all, the population that assumes the risk of all of this, with no one in an elective position making these judgments. This is a kind of an extraordinary form of government that we're seeing, one that I don't think you read in the Constitution. And again, my criticism is not to those that are interested in being active to address an economic crisis. I believe you have to be active to address a crisis. But I think those that are working now on the auto issue, that are insisting on strict conditions, are completely at odds with virtually everything else that's been done without conditions at all. That just makes no sense to me at all. And so the TARP program has conditions of oversight, accountability, and transparency, and none of them are applicable to the other portions, which is about $7.8 trillion. Is anybody asking why? Is anybody asking why shouldn't they be applicable? Well, I'm going to introduce legislation that would make these same conditions applicable to all of these areas. Doesn't matter whether it's an open Fed window or some other guarantee. We've got $7.8 trillion of other guarantees that put the taxpayers at risk. In one way or another, the American people deserve to be able to see what's happening to them. Now, I'm going to introduce a number of pieces of legislation, but one of them will be to impose the same conditions in the troubled asset program to all of the other programs that exist here. Second, I'm going to propose a piece of legislation called the Financial Reform Commission, creating a commission that would, a high-level commission, report back to the Congress in 6 months about how we reform our system of finance in this country. We can't continue this. I mean, the fact is, what happened threw this country's economy into the ditch. It caused an enormous wreck. And we're just going to keep doing it? I don't think so. It has to change. It has to be reformed. You know, some of the largest financial enterprises in this country have gotten massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars. But no one has shut the gate, as I've described yesterday. I mean, I come from a rural background where we had cattle and horses. I understand about closing the gate. No one's closed the gate here. I described yesterday what caused all of this. Unbelievable reckless behavior, unbelievable greed. Lots of interest, we're making lots of money. Story the other day about someone who was in charge of risk management for one of the big financing companies, one of the big investment banks. One guy's in charge of risk management, the other guy's in charge of trading CDOs, collateralized debt obligations. And so the guy that's in charge of trading CDOs didn't have a very difficult time getting his activities through the risk manager, and they loaded up. Both of them were making over $20 million a year. Let me say that again. Both of them making over $20 million a year. This company loads up with massive quantities of toxic assets, and so now we're all stuck with the proposition of the Federal Reserve Board, the Treasury Department, and others, including the FDIC, trying to come to the rescue. But coming to the rescue without any notion of how you close the gate on that kind of behavior, first of all, and second, what kind of conditions attach to that rescue. Again, I say all of this effort today and in the last week about imposing conditions on the automobile industry, sign me up, I'm for that. I'm not for using taxpayers' money without substantial limitations and conditions. But then why are we standing here with $7.8 trillion having been put at risk for the American taxpayer with few or no conditions, with little or no transparency, with almost no accountability?